Hello and welcome to a look at Barbarian 2 for the Amiga, a game that was developed by Pandemonium Entertainment and released by Psygnosis. The plot of this particular game is that after you defeated Necron in the first game, which I assume you did, of course you did, didn't you? No? Shame on you. Anyway, because of being defeated or not defeated in the first game, Necron is out for revenge. So he's back in town. Obviously, that is a rather bad thing for him to be. So Igor, the barbarian, grabs his trusty equipment and sets out to do something about that little inconvenience of having a terrifying bad guy back in business. So off Igor goes on his merry way, but apparently he must have been spending a night in an inn and been rather drunk because he seems to have forgotten his weapon. He starts the game without having one equipped. So, yeah. But anyway, he has to navigate 6 levels, defeating various different opponents of various different kinds in the process. You have humanoid opponents, men and ogre-like individuals, and then you have other spicy flyers and crawlers and jumpers and whatever else they may be. Once you get your hands on a weapon of which there are various different types, you can get swords and axes, you can get bows and crossbows, and you can also get some spears that you can throw at enemies. And each weapon type has a certain unique set of animations, and as you can like together, a game that has multiple different weapon types usually also includes some sort of rock, paper, scissors system on the weapons and what they are strong against and what they are not so strong against. When defeating enemies, you will sometimes get a drop from them. It can be sacks of gold or it can be potions. The potions are either health potions or weapon strength upgrade potions. Because the weapons, when you use them, can be worn and ultimately break. So being able to restore the strength of the weapon is somewhat useful. Naturally, being a big, bad, nasty barbarian is only as cool as it can be if you don't have anything to be a nasty big barbarian on. And thankfully, in that regard, Hagar has various different opponents he can beat to a pulp, either with his fists or using one of the before mentioned weapons. The enemies he will face are of various different kinds, some of them humanoid in appearance and some of them very much not humanoid. And each of them will have their own way of fighting and retreating and whatever else they might be doing. The majority will just be running into your sword or axe or whatever it is that you are trying to swing at them, but some of them requires a bit more thinking. My least favorite enemy is one that jumps over you, and only when you duck waiting for it to jump can you hit it when it's cleared jumping over you. So it becomes a waiting game, wait for it to jump and then hit it in the back and it's still in mid-air. Progressing through the levels, you have to find various different keys. And of course, you can lightly gather if you find keys, you need to have something to use the keys on. And there will be plenty of locked doors for you to find keys for. And that, besides the fighting enemies, is the main gameplay loop. Let's go over the technical side of things. From a graphical point of view, I think this game is very, very pleasing to look at. It may not be spectacularly awesomely epic, but the game has a certain style and tone that remains consistent throughout the game. Specifically, the main character and the enemies look very, very clean, and I was about to say sharp, but I actually mean soft, because there's a certain throwback to the graphics of the original game in this particular game. But things has been touched up quite significantly and as such has a much softer look than the original Barbarian. The developers was very, very proud of the amount of animation they had tossed into this game, and there's quite a lot of it, and by and large the quality of the animation is surprisingly high. Everything moves very, very smoothly and it feels natural, and it looks as natural as it can look. I suppose I haven't seen a barbarian running around with an axe lately, so I wouldn't have a comparison base, but you know what I mean. The sound side, the title music is fairly enjoyable. Depending on various different comments, it is either amazingly great, epic, or completely and utterly forgettable. But that's always the case with everything. I find that the music fits the game and fits the tone and style of the game. And I do find it enjoyable, but I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to it. The sound effects quality is by and large fairly decent. You have the sound effects you would expect from a game of this type. The grunts from the hero, the grunts from the monsters, the sounds of things falling, dropping, all that good stuff, and nothing necessarily stands out, but it sounds like it belongs to the game, and as such, you can't really ask for anything more. The controls are very, very sharp and responsive, and of course, as you can likely gather, you have various different moves that you can make use of, whether you have a weapon equipped or not. And Hegor seems to be accepting your inputs with a certain amount of ease, and overall, the control of the character feels very, very smooth. There's a certain thing about getting up staircases. You need to stand at a certain distance from the first step and then push up to start ascending the staircase, and hitting that exact spot can be a bit wonky. I have already mentioned the majority of the gameplay in the earlier part of this video, so there's no reason for me to repeat myself. But what I will say is, if you have no interest in exploring levels and looking for items and that kind of stuff, then this game is not likely to do much, if anything, for you. Personally, I've reached a stage in my gaming life where I prefer games with a bit more immediacy and find the exploration, looking for keys and backtrack in order to use set keys to be an unwelcome intrusion. Compared to the first Barbarian, this is a vast improvement on a technical level. But does it stand out? I'm not sure. For better or for worse, the first game will definitely be remembered by many people for its incredibly wonky and clunky and obnoxious control system. But at least it will be remembered. Whether that's the case with this game, that is up to the individual. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.